Yes, welcome back. You are now watching video 8 and the continuation of this video presentation titled The Ignorance of White and Black Supremacy Exposed in my series of video presentations called The Redemption from the Curse of the Black Spell. And thanks very much again for joining me and being with me this far and into this presentation this long. Again, I must remind you that if you did not watch video 1 to 7 in that order, of this presentation in that order, I suggest that you please do so in order to get the full gist and maybe more understanding of what I'm presenting. Now, let me continue with all that was said in the previous videos. Let me now continue by examining the meaning of the phrase white supremacy and black supremacy. And here I hope to point out the deliberate deception of the system and the manifestation of our own ignorance of our slave masters, their heirs and successors' language, the English language. In other words, allow me to logically and methodically expose some of their lies. Now, there's an old proverb that is attributed to the Chinese philosopher Confucius that states, "A picture is worth more than 1,000 words." This is a statement that is commonly accepted as true. However, from my perspective, if and when all things are considered, it may only be accepted as true to the extent that we humans trust our own physical sense of sight to tell us the truth of what we think we are seeing or what we may be seeing. If and when we trust our sense of sight, then with the exception of the inherent semiotic potential for the system to use pictures or images to convey lies in order to manipulate and control us, a picture or an image, its meanings and interpretations, unlike communication through the spoken word, does not randomly or spontaneously change its meanings just to accommodate a situation, etc. In other words, a picture is what it is and all that it is. Signs and symbols are pictures or images that are formed in our minds whenever we see or look upon certain objects or whenever we hear certain words. Now, the beauty about certain objects or certain signs and symbols is that their meanings and interpretations are universally understood. In other words, there are no language barriers that limit the meaning and interpretation of a visible sign or symbol that is conventionally or universally accepted. For example, to the best of my knowledge, a red light or the color red signifies a high level of danger, and when it is used in the case of a stoplight, the red light means to come to a full stop. An amber light means caution, and a green light means that you may proceed with care, and this is true everywhere there is a traffic light system anywhere in the world. at least to the best of my knowledge. And just like all other traffic signs and symbols, the messages are universally understood. Therefore, you don't have to learn to speak French in order to drive a car in France, or speak German in order to drive in Germany, to drive a car in Germany, etc. You may only require a valid driver's license from the country of residence, etc., to prove that you know all the codes and the rules of the road, thereby certified to drive a vehicle. Now, with respect to signs and symbols, let us look at what white signifies and symbolizes. White is a sign and a symbol of peace. In fact, white is universally accepted as a sign and symbol of peace. Example, the picture or image of a white dove carrying an olive branch is a sign and a symbol of peace. A white flag or a piece of white cloth is used to indicate a peaceful surrender during times of war, etc. White is a sign and a symbol of purity. Example, in some religions, cultures and traditions, a maiden, an innocent woman, also called a chaste woman and a virgin, would wear a white wedding dress as a sign and symbol of her chastity or purity. Now, if that was the case today, then a lot of us could not even dream of getting married. For wanting to get married would be like wanting to have a public execution. For instead of people throwing white rice at us, they would be throwing stones, thereby stoning us to death. Because we are not pure. I should also mention that in some cultures, religions, traditions, and philosophies, if or when death is seen or believed to be good, then white clothes may be used for burial of the dead. And also white clothes may be worn by those that mourn the dead. White is a sign and a symbol of cleanliness. I was taught as a child that cleanliness is the essence of holiness and godliness, which means the same as cleanliness is a sign and a symbol of holiness and godliness if or when these two terms are correctly interpreted and correctly understood. I was also taught that cleanliness is a sign and a symbol of our state of mind, and it can be used to determine how organized, coordinated, or disorganized we are in our lives, along with our chances for the system's success. Something that I would be remiss if I did not mention right here at this point, and it is the fact that the slave masters, their heirs and successors, through the religious arm of their slavery economic system known as their Christian missionaries, also misused and abused the truth, which states cleanliness is the essence of holiness and godliness. Holiness and godliness, to the detriment of our African people. Let me briefly explain. First, the missionaries, the Christian missionaries, they abused and misused the truth that white is a sign and a symbol of cleanliness, and that cleanliness is the essence of holiness and godliness. But above all, they cunningly and devilishly deceived our ancestors into believing that they, the slave masters, their heirs and successors, and their Christian missionaries were white, and that our ancestors were their opposite meaning black. A lie that they still they are still perpetuating today, and a lie that is still believed by most Africans and African descendants today. And for your information, not only did the Christian missionaries cunningly and devilishly deceive our African ancestors into believing that the Christian missionaries, were white, that their skin complexion were white, and that their hearts, minds, and intentions towards them were white, meaning pure, clean, holy, and of the light. But they our African ancestors, they confound and confuse them into believing that they, meaning the Caucasian missionaries, were white, to the extent that even today, as I am speaking to you, they are still convening, congregating, converting my people, the descendants of Africans, into believing that they are white, and not just white, but they have convinced them into believing that they are as white as snow. And they believe it. They abuse and misuse this truth. Cleanliness is the essence of holiness and godliness, to brainwash our ancestors with their venomous, deceptive, and diabolic racist ideologies and teachings of their European Caucasian pale skin superiority, which is also deceptively and erroneously today called white supremacy. They have successfully abused and misused the truth of cleanliness is the essence of holiness and godliness to inculcate self-hate, self-doubt, unworthiness, uncleanliness, and inferiority complex in the minds of our African people, to the extent that some, if not all, African Christians today are still singing and praying to the slave masters' God or gods, and in some case gods, for him or them to literally wash them, the Africans, my African brothers and sisters, and make them whiter than snow. In other words, to make them become like their slave masters, their heirs and successors, and the Caucasian missionaries. White is a sign and a symbol of truth, honesty, innocence, genuine love, the color and symbol of enlightenment, the awakened spirit, the light of the cosmic consciousness, the light of protection, the divine light, goodness, good health, clarity, transparency, kindness, wholeness, completion, and openness, etc. These are all what white symbolizes. These are just some of the wonderful and awe-inspiring things that the highly exalted word white, its sign and its symbol mean, represent, and symbolize. Now, having given you some of the things that the sign and symbol white symbolizes, here is a question that I will ask you, and I will also ask that you answer yourself, and to your own self be true with the answer. Do you know of anyone, and in all honesty, can you think of any individual person or any individual race or group of people on this planet Earth that fulfill the aforementioned qualities and characteristics of the sign and symbol white, thereby making them qualify and worthy to represent and to be called by this highly exalted word, sign and symbol white? My answer is absolutely no. No, not one. But let us continue, and together let us now look at the meaning and the definition of the word white from the English dictionary. In other words, we are not just interested in the meanings and interpretation that we that we receive from the visible sign and symbol white, but the written word and the phonetic sound and frequency vibration when it is uttered, when it is pronounced and expressed in English. According to the Winston Canadian Dictionary for Schools, the word white is an adjective. It means of the color of clean snow. Opposite, it means opposite of black. Hence, pure, innocent. It means silvery, as you know, a silvery moon, or the radiant white moon. It means gray, as in gray hair, you know, it's a white hair. And 4, it also means fair skin. We're going to be dealing with that. So, now, just guess who Satan, the devil, the deceiver, and the enemy of us all, the natural native earth, the human, Satan, the alien invader, guess who he is claiming to have possessed all these glorious and exalted superior qualities and characteristics? Guess who Satan, the devil, the enemy of us all, has also strategically and deceptively positioned among all these glorious and highly exalted meaning of the word white? Right here in the English dictionary. You guessed right, Caucasian. Satan, the devil, called the European Caucasian people white people. And not only did he call them white, but he is barefaced enough to put it in their dictionary, in their English dictionary, for all the world to see. He, Satan, the devil, is barefaced enough to put it in their dictionaries, not only for the world to see and to insult their basic common sense intelligence, but to be insulting their basic God-given physical sense of sight. I, the mystic philosopher, honestly do not think that they, meaning the entire European Caucasian race, are the ones that is responsible for calling themselves white, for calling themselves pure, unblemished, innocent, superior, the color of clean snow, etc. I honestly do not think so. I honestly do not think that they are, neither can they be, as an entire race of people, that of a liar. They are not at all. They are not all that evil, and they are not that all pathological, mendacious, or pathologically mendacious liars. A few from among them, yes, the elites, the oligarchy, the less than 1%, and Satan's chosen ones, yes, those that are all under his, Satan's inspiration, definitely yes. They are all pathologically mendacious liars, but definitely not the whole European Caucasian race. And even though, from my perspective, the majority of Caucasian, particularly those that are living here in North and South America, the West Indies, and no doubt Africa, though they are benefiting by default from the system's written or unwritten code of trickle-down, erroneously called white privileges, it is Satan, the devil, and his chosen people, the oligarchy, the elites and administrators of the slave economic system, that are the architect and the propagators of the pathologically mendacious lies that Caucasians are white and fair-skinned people. And not only did he, Satan, the devil, deceive the European Caucasians into thinking and believing that they are really white, and as such, they proudly teach their children that they are white, but he, Satan, the devil, has skillfully and very successfully deceived the world into believing that these people, the European Caucasian people, and their descendants are white people, and as such, they are superior to all others. This is the end of video 8. Please switch to video 9 now or at your convenience, and join me for the continuation of this presentation titled Ignorance of White and Black Supremacy Exposed. I am the Mystic Philosopher. See you in video 9.